Hi guys, I'm waiting for my helicopter parts. I've got most of them, I'm pleased to say. I've got everything I wanted apart from a feathering spindle. Oh, and the fly bolt. Now I've been assured from Midlands that they are going to get the parts in soon, so that's going to be a bonus, but I've got everything else. So while I'm waiting, I've been working on my little motocrosser as well, which I'll do a video about. That's coming on really nice. But you know, I'm a fan of these Toyan engines, and you can see the black one in the background there. It's got a little Toyan single cylinder in it, which is one of my favourite RC vehicles, and it runs superb through a Revo gearbox. And I've been waiting since June for another engine to come along. The twin, and I've been asking and sort of getting in touch with Lucas, but I've not had much luck. But I did get an email a couple of weeks ago saying that it has been sent, so I thought I'd see if I can get it in this Toyota, because I know I've seen them in some of their I've seen actually some of these twin cylinder Toyan engines in like the Tamiya lorries. So I thought it may fit into this chassis. So as you can see, if I take this off, I have in there a twin cylinder engine from Toyan, which they call, I believe, what's the manual, they call it the Fs-L200 in there. And I'll read you the specification. Displacement is 3.5 cc by 2, so I suppose that's 7 cc. Bore 16mm, stroke 17mm. Practical RPM, which I'll tell you about in a minute, which I thought is different to what I've actually got. It's 4,000 to 13,000. So you know, it's very similar to the single cylinder, but the horsepower is 0.86 psi at 12,000 RPM. So it's very similar rev rise to my single cylinder Toyan, but it's got more power. It's probably more torque as well, being a cylinder, twin cylinder. So I thought when I bought this engine that I saw figures of 17,000 RPM and 0.75 PS or brake horsepower or whatever you want to call it. But when I was watching a Johnny Q video, I noticed it wasn't. He put a rev counter on it and it was only doing like 12,000, 13,000, something like that, which I'm a little bit disappointed with. So I don't know whether they changed the spec on the engine or, you know, something like that. But anyway, that's enough of that. Now I've managed, it was very easy to get this twin cylinder. It's only bolted in very loosely at the moment. Obviously it's got twin carbs. This could be a problem, is the two needles are sort of close to the wheel, but this high lift, I don't think, I mean it's quite a long way away. I don't think it's gonna, it's quite stiff on the suspension on there, but obviously it's quite a heavy motor, but I can't, that's bottomed out now on the suspension, it's not touching them. So I you know, it would have been nice if they were sitting on the top or something like a scale one or something like that, but they're not. Looks like a twin overhead cam. What I like on this engine is the idler pulley has got teeth on it as well, whereas on the small Toyan it just runs a plain pulley, so it doesn't do the belt a lot of good because you're running sort of tight belt on a flat pulley. But say on this one they've got a nice machine alloy pulley, and what I've managed to do, I've managed to get the engine as low as I can get it. I've actually cut little bits out of the chassis rails, I think you can see them there, just to clear the fan. There you go. That's just to clear the fan, and I've managed to get it down as low as I can because I want to sit the body lower. You know, the black one sits up a bit high because the black ones, you can see, it's a clone, but this is a, you know, a Tamiya high lift. Now, I'm not sure what to do about the gearbox. I mean, the gearbox itself, I was thinking of trying to use it, you know, a 3-speed manual, but then I thought to myself, well, it's going to be very hard to get brakes on it, and also it's going to be very hard to get reverse, because it hasn't got reverse. It reverses on the motor, as you know. So they're two like big headaches with that. I didn't know whether the power of the motor would be too much for it as well. I don't know. So I've got another idea up my sleeve with the actual gearbox. Now, you've seen my other videos, I believe, with all my 4-stroke projects, and this is one of my favourite little buggies. This is the what do I call it, snake bite, moon eyes, the old sort of cheapy sort of Kyosho car. Like I said to you, we got a couple of them and restored them, and I decided to go down the road of putting a 4-stroke in with a 2-speed gearbox. So this is quite a good performer, especially with the OS engine in there. It's very, very fast. But if you look at this gearbox, it's very, very narrow. Now, this is what I need for the Tamiya high lift truck, because the one in the background there, that is a copy, that is a Bruiser clone. Now, the chassis is very, very wide on that. I like to make quite wide sort of engine mounts to get that in. I'll take this engine out in a minute in the high lift and show you the engine mounts are made for that, but it's a very simple job. But say that one, it's got quite a wide chassis, and it's like the old Bruiser one where it sort of goes down and up like a hoop on both ends, you know. Nice thing. But it's wide, so you're going to get a Revo gearbox in there quite easily. Now, this is really a slim chassis, as you can see there. And this is the high lift, it's the Tamiya. See, you haven't got a lot of width in there. I think it's about 45mm. Now, if you look at this gearbox from underneath, can you see where that bolts in? And I think that will be perfect to go in that car. Now, this gearbox, it's a wonderful thing, because when it changes gear, you've got like, you can have neutral, so you can have it in the middle for neutral, so you can just sit there revving it, and you've got forward and you've got reverse. Now, it comes with a single speed, as you imagine, for a cheap buggy, but you can get a 2-speed to go on there. And what I did, I extended the shaft right through and put a disc brake on the end. So if you can see in there, there's actual disc brake on the end. So this has got like a mega disc brake. I mean, it's really, I think this is off the Super 10, this bulkhead. So I might even have another one of them. So I can do this same, if I just copy this, actually I have bought a gearbox, it's in the post now. I've got to get the 2-speed. I've already got a clutch bell. So I've got a nice big clutch bell, I've got another one of those. And I've got parts to make this up. I think I'm just missing the shift cam and a few other little bits. But this is a very strong gearbox. And look how small and neat that is. I think that's going to sit in there really nice. And all I've got to do, you can see down the bottom, I've got to just run these 2 drive shafts, and I can use probably the original Tamiya telescopic prop shafts, UJs and all that. I think it should go on quite easy. So that's what I'm looking for. The thing I believe I'm going to have trouble with, as usual, it'll be the same as my 4-stroke TT motorcycle. The gears are going to be going around the wrong way. So it's not a big problem. To get it going forward, you reverse the one-way bearing so it drives the other way. But the problem I had, as you remember with my 4-stroke motorbike, it wouldn't change gear. And it was because the cam shift is round the wrong way. Obviously you change the bearing so it drives, but the cam will not fly out to actually engage second gear. So you have to either make a new cam plate that's the opposite way round, and then you have to kind of cut away, there's a little slope, the little pin in the second gear, and there's a little metal pin in there with a little slope that helps the pull fly out and grab it. Now you have to cut that away, and you have to build up a little bit of epoxy on the other side, like I did on my motorcycle, and it works really great. So I'm thinking that this is going to be a perfect solution to what I've got here. I could still put a Revo in it, but I've been there and done that, so I kind of want to make this a little bit different, and I do like, you know, the idea of having the neutral as well, which is a good fun thing. So let's take the engine out of the high lift and I'll show you the mounts. It's ever so simple. I've only put 2 screws in it so I can actually show you what I've got. I mean, I was a bit disappointed when it arrived because it comes in the same box. As you can see, that box over there is for the twin and that box over there is for the single. Now, I don't know about you, but this is quite a bigger engine, and it was kind of packed in really tight, and there's a breather nipple on the bottom like all these engines have. Whoops, a breather, and it had actually snapped the breather off because it was so tight in the box, it was pushing against the bottom of the box. It needs a bigger box or packed differently or something like that. That's what it needs. Right, so here's a beautiful little motor, and this is what I was telling you about. Can you see that? Let's have a nipple in there. It was floating around in a box. Now, Lucas kindly said he's going to send me the parts to repair it. Now, I don't know whether he's going to send me a new sump bottom and the nipple, or whether he's just going to send me a nipple, because otherwise I'm going to have to take this sump off and I'm going to have to try and drill that out, you know, on a brand new engine. I can't drill it and leave it in there because the swarf and that will go in the engine. But I was looking at the drawing for the engine, and it looks like it's got proper little big ends rather than running ball races in it. So I'm not sure. I'm probably going to take it apart and have a look anyway. You know me. I don't, you know, I like to see how things all work. I've taken the flywheel off for the time being because I never run their flywheels, always run a light and flywheel. But you can see it's a nice little unit. This is a bit stiff, which I don't like. Oh, they're carburetors. I've had 2 engines, and I had one that was really stiff and I had the other one that was beautiful, but this is quite stiff, which I suppose you've got to line the carburetors up. I mean, maybe if I loosen those 2 little bolts up, you might get a bit more of a smoother action, because you've only got to be a little bit out with the carbs, haven't you? If one's kind of kicked over a little bit, it's going to be tight. So I'm going to look into that. But you know, that's a nice little unit, don't you think? You know, Toyan engine, lovely things. So that's the engine. Now these are the 2 mounts that I've made. Now these are the engine mounts. They're 7.2 thick, and they just fit into the channel like that. So they just fit in there like that, and you've got in the engine, you've got 3 3mm holes. So you drill clearance holes in the chassis rails, 1, 2, 3, and they go straight through and lock onto there. So you lock in the alley against a chassis rail, and it's absolutely perfect fit in there. Now, if you guys are doing anything like this, you have to watch it, because the hole pattern on this side, the hole pattern on this side, these 3 holes, is different to the pattern on the other side. So that's why this one has got an extra hole in it, because I had to re-drill the hole in the right place, because I don't know why they've, maybe it's in the way of a big end or something like that, or a journal. So yeah, look at them little exhausts. I'm gonna have fun making something with that, can't I? You know, I've got 20 exhausts on the truck, but this is going to be like lovely. I've got a friend of mine who said he can, you know, maybe bend me up some stainless steel headers. That would be nice. So, you know, that's all you need. It took me like 5 minutes to make. They're like, say, 7.2 wide, and the engine fits in there perfectly. So I've left the engine in, the gearbox in there for the time being, just to sort of show you what, you know, I think the gearbox could handle that engine, because you know, electric motor, I think it's only like 13,000 RPM, I believe. I don't know what sort of torque they've got on them, but they're only like I run the high torque motor in this one, Tamiya one. So I think you could stand it. And I heard it's a constant mesh gearbox, so, you know, because I used to slam it through the gears when I was driving it anyway. So, it, you know, I would have liked to have run that, but it would have been a bit awkward. And you know, again, you haven't got the reverse function on it. So let's just move this over there to one side. I'll show you the differences between the two chassis, because, you know, there is quite a difference between the two trucks. Now, you've all seen this one, absolutely lovely little truck, you know, it just runs and runs and runs. You can, whole tank of fuel, and you come to the end and you just stop and it ticks over a lot of watts, you know, it's fantastic. And all the lights, I mean, it's got all the brake lights in it, headlights and reversing lights, everything like that, which I plan to do on the other one. But if you take this body off, now you can see straight away how wide the chassis rails are. Now, where are we? Right. Now you can see the chassis on the front is wider. So it goes from there to there. And you can see that it actually flares out, you know, really wide. If you compare that, you know, to what I'm working with on this one, look how thin that is to how wide that is. So getting one of them Revo gearboxes in there, you know, if you want to make anything with one of these engines in, this is kind of made, it's so easy. And if you look, it looks like it's factory built, you know, and it's just no fuss car. It is a beautiful thing to run. The gearbox one, you know, perfectly, the reverse, everything runs on it. And you can see how wide you can get a Revo gearbox in there, and, you know, it's quite an easy thing. Now, like I say, with the high lift, or the hilux, you know, the chassis is quite thin, not very wide, but the engine goes in absolutely perfect. So I'm going to work around that. You know, I'll get the engine in first because I can run the body a lot lower. You know, I'm having to run the clone sort of along very high to clear the engine, because it sort of comes up on that front hoop. If you can see it here, it comes up there. Now this is dead straight, so the engine sits really low. It sits in there perfectly. And I think if I can run, you know, that Kyosho gearbox in there, I think they call it a QRC gearbox. If I can run that in there and somehow in line with that, either running on the top or the bottom, you know, because I think I'll be able to move it up and down inside there, I think I'm in with a good chance of sort of making a nice car out of this. And it can be a little bit more scale because it's going to be a little bit lower, and I can do the usual thing with the servos coming off the bottom here. You know, I think on that one they fit inside, but I can make a little plate up like I've done on the six-wheeler with the Toyan in it, and I can put the servos there. I can put the throttle one on this side, you know, up there somewhere, and run this one. The gearbox one, it can either go in the back here, or maybe I might put the LiPo in the back here, you know, because you know how many wires go in there, because the cell start, they've got electric start, all the lights, you've got the gear change, tons and tons of stuff in there. I like to run a separate servo and mix it on the throttle, so you can actually turn the model off, so you can switch it off and then you hit the button again and she starts up again. The tank will probably go sort of round about here, similar to the other one. So at the moment, I've ordered the gearbox and it should be here sort of next week, early next week. So if I get that, I'll do another little video and we'll see, you know, how it's going to sort of tally up. But that's, you know, this engine here, I mean, this blank part here is exactly the same width as this. It's almost like they've measured up the chassis of one of these, maybe for their lorries, and they've made that sort of fit in there. You know, you just got to cut a little bit. It's going to be so nice, because when you open the bonnet on this one, you know, in the Toyan single cylinder, it sits quite a long way back. This is going to be right at the front, and I can cut the grill out again, so it should get a really good airflow over the engine. I don't want to fit electric fan. So that's where we are with this one. Things are going quite well. I spent a lot of time today messing about with the YZ250. A friend of mine made the seat. It wasn't quite right, so it's maybe another one. Left it silver, and I've been sort of knocking it around today. It's quite a nice malleable alley, and I've got a tiny little sort of planishing hammer, and I've been beating out and forming a little bit on the front and everything, and it's all starting to look really cool, you know, so that's coming along really well. But I'll do a separate video on that. But I just thought, I mean, all I've made so far is these mounts, but I've got so much on. I've got this, I've got a boat I'm trying to get ready. I've got in the box in the corner over there is my helicopter. This, you know, I've nearly got all the parts to build it. I was going to make a new feathering spindle, but I've been told that silver steel is a little bit too soft, so you know, you don't want to pay all that money and repair it again and have another disaster. So I'm going to wait until a new you know, main shaft comes in, not a main shaft, feathering spindle comes in, and then we go from there. But I've got to find something to paint a landing gear with, so that's going to take me a little while. But you know, things are going quite well. I mean, you can just see the back of my little YZ250. That is going to be something special, I'll tell you. You know, but again, we're doing another video on it. So if you like the video, subscribe. I've got so much going on that I'll sort of have to put a video on every other day, I think. I've got little updates going on that, so if you subscribe or thumbs up, that'd be great. So I'm going to sign out now, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.